Well as massive government job cuts and human rights. ABC's Christian Cordero is in Washington, where one of the largest protests happened. Good morning, Christian.
Hey, Janae, good morning. So through every move, the administration has said it is acting on a mandate from the American people. Well, hundreds of thousands of people took to streets yesterday to have their voices heard.
This morning, chants from coast to coast after Saturday's hands-off protest drew in more than 1 million people, organizers say, across some 1,200 rallies.
I have some interesting thoughts on this. And I think many of you attended these protests all around the country, and I'm very proud of you for participating in this, for demonstrating. And I think many of you that attended these protests probably saw something that I saw as well. I'll get to it in a second. Let's see how the media covers it first.
San Francisco and Seattle, from Los Angeles and Lincoln, Detroit to Denver, and right here in Washington, D.C., where an estimated 100,000 people filled the National Mall.
We all have something that we're upset about.
17 minutes.
And they're all important things.
Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency has spent weeks making major cuts to the federal workforce with the goal of shrinking the government and saving billions in federal funds. His latest target, the Peace Corps. Sources tell ABC News Doge members entered Peace Corps headquarters Friday to begin a review of their system. Amid the Doge cuts, unemployment in March increased, the economic uncertainty keeping people like Stan Prusik up at night.
47 years.
So what's really interesting about the protest, at least from my experience, my estimation, as someone who participated in the D.C. protests and walked around the Capitol, was that the hands-off protests and the hands-off protests overall were very liberal. Like they were, their focus was on a lot of the things that I think liberals have gotten frustrated by in general. Which isn't to say that they're wrong, by the way. I'm not saying that they're wrong at all. Like, obviously, there's some parts of the overall perspective that hands off demonstrated, where they were like, hands off my NATO, which I think is fucking insane. It's an insane statement to make. No mention of Gaza in the top line argument whatsoever. No mention of the genocide. And I think that they did that because they... The organizers did that specifically because they wanted to make this as like a Democratic Party friendly as possible so that politicians would go and speak at these rallies and legitimize these rallies, which I think is a mistake. This does not mean that those people that were participating in these rallies did not care about Israel, by the way. They certainly did. Okay, this does not mean that these massive protests did not have like more radicalized elements within them. They certainly had it. However, the one thing that I noticed was that these protests in the DC, at least, the liberal protests that were happening, the hands-off protests that were happening, were side by side with the anti-Israel protests that took place that I spoke at. And the pro-Palestinian protest that I spoke at was significantly younger and much more diverse. Whereas the hands-off rallies were the participants of the hands-off rallies were a lot older and mostly white. Now, once again, I'm not saying that those guys don't have an opinion on Gaza. I'm sure they do, and plenty of them were even, wearing keffiyehs. And what's interesting to me is that the convergence of both of these issues could create mass popular momentum because it would rebuild the Democratic coalition with the demographics that actually support historically the Democratic Party. But that would require the Democratic Party to change its narrative on Israel or its reluctance to ever criticize Israel. Just something that I saw that I found to be interesting.
Work, 47 years of savings, and I just started Social Security, and I'd like to enjoy. It's time to me to enjoy life.
The protest, a stern message to lawmakers across party lines.
We are standing up and saying, in this moment, we will organize and mobilize, and we are ready. 2 years, not 4. 2
I find it, like the issues that they're talking about, by the way, I'm not undermining at all. They are very significant. Mass layoffs, Doge, anti-Elon sentiment, all of that is perfectly valid. So don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But I do think it's interesting that even these protests, which are like the demographics that the Democratic Party has maintained as its base of support, educated, white, wealthier liberals on average, that are upset about the things that they see in the news, all of those people were still very much surrounded by wine moms, white wine moms that were wearing fucking keffiyehs, white wine moms that were rocking with Luigi Mangione. For every like, I'm done drinking wine, I should be at brunch instead of this style protester with like silly ass, liberal ass fucking protest placards. There were plenty of people who were championing Luigi Mangione. When you got wine moms championing Luigi Mangione, things are changing, okay? That is a sign that the times are changing. That's a sign that the attitude is shifting. Something that I also pointed to even in the pro-Palestinian demonstration, where one of the Hasanabi heads, who is a Jewish Voice for Peace person, okay, she had a placard where she had the red triangle inside of the Star of David. Now, that is critical support for militant resistance against the state of Israel. Jewish Voice for Peace has not been historically known for offering critical support to militant resistance against the state of Israel. So that also is a shift in the attitude.